It was all or nothing at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Denny Hamlin celebrates an emotional milestone, while two championship hopefuls were dealt body blows early on. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove, presented by Tableau TV. Pay once, watch forever. So much to talk about tonight after the NASCAR Cup Series Round of 8 opener. The old Kyle Larson is back, led laps, won a stage, looked dominant. Early trouble, unfortunately, plagues Team Penske. No late race gamble was gonna save Joey Logano this time. We have so much to get to. Let's begin with the race winner. It was an emotional, historic victory for driver Denny Hamlin. Denny started on the pole, but only led 9 laps, 9 out of 267. An issue on their final green flag pit stop with 50 laps to go dropped them out of the top 5. He did earn 14 stage points today, had a top 5 car, but didn't have top 5 track position down the stretch. It took a caution, a superb short run adjustment by crew chief Chris Gale, and a Herculean restart by Hamlin to get the victory. Fans retreated to another classic Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin battle for second position in the closing laps. I think it was like 6 or 7 laps to go. Hamlin swung up to the wall in turns 3 and 4, and Larson almost covered, barely left Hamlin a lane. And then through turns 1 and 2, Larson tried to slide up, basically cleared himself off of Hamlin's front bumper. Close calls, contact, Hamlin gets away, and then just blows by Chase Briscoe, who was on older tires, granted. But Hamlin made up a half a second deficit in a half a lap, just flying there in the final laps. Denny Hamlin gets career win number 60. 60 wins. One of only 2 active drivers in the 60 win club, the other being, of course, Kyle Busch. Now Denny Hamlin is tied with Kevin Harvick for 10th on the all-time NASCAR Cup Series wins list. And it's obvious he's got plenty more in the tank. At 44 years old, he's got his 6th win of the season. He recently signed a 2-year extension with Joe Gibbs Racing, so he talks about having roughly 70 more opportunities to win. You could see the emotion on his face. You could hear it in his voice on the cool down lap, talking to NBC on the front straightaway. It was apparent all week how important this race was to Denny Hamlin. Not only for his legacy, getting to 60 wins, all that good stuff. We know how fast Denny was at Kansas 2 weeks ago. Similar mile and a half, same aero, same tire. Obviously, he wanted redemption for that near miss, but also the championship implications. Last season, it was Joey Logano who won this race, was the first driver to lock into the championship 4, and he was almost untouchable at Phoenix 3 weeks later. Denny Hamlin's hoping that can be him this time around. Hamlin, for all of his incredible accomplishments, 60 Cup wins, 3 Daytona 500s, he's never hoisted the Bill France Cup, whatever they used to call the Sprint Cup trophy, or I guess Denny never raced under the Winston. He never got a chance to hold a Winston Cup. Denny Hamlin, still looking for his first championship. That was weighing on his mind all week. NBC mentioned it multiple times during the broadcast that he spent extra time in the Toyota Sim this week, fine-tuning their Las Vegas setup. This was an extremely important race. Everyone in the field had this one circled, but it sounds like, again, at age 44, it was Denny Hamlin who dug a little deeper, put a little extra work in, the ball bounced his way a couple times, and he's the one in victory lane this Sunday. It's hard to put my finger on it, but there's something different about Denny Hamlin this season. And I know, look ahead 3 weeks, it's one race, Phoenix. If a Penske car sneaks in, they'll be tough to beat. Put that race aside. Is this Denny's year? You tell me. I don't know. Nobody does. But what I can say is that this is the most dominant version of Denny Hamlin I've seen, I think any of us have seen, at least since 2020, when he and Kevin Harvick were going toe-to-toe during most of the pandemic season. And that's what still blows me away about Denny Hamlin, who again is 44 years old, the oldest full-time driver in the Cup Series field. He is extraordinarily adaptable. That 2020 season has almost nothing in common with the 2025 season. Completely different car, different chassis, different platform, radically different aero package, rules package, horsepower numbers. Denny has a different crew chief, a different sponsor. He now owns his own race team, does his own podcast. He has a new baby at home. He mentioned during his interview today, been thinking about his father. Obviously today he's embroiled in a lawsuit. That was not on the horizon back in 2020. Between 2020 and today, nothing looks the same. The only similarity, ironically, between 2020 and today is that Hamlin happened to be wearing a purple fire suit today, which I thought was kind of fitting for him to hit such an important milestone in his classic colors. But other than the color of his suit, and I guess the team name stitched on the shoulder, although the logo looks different, nothing about 2020 and 2025 look the same. Yet Denny Hamlin is still as dominant as ever. Extraordinarily adaptable at that age. Incredible. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I don't know. How many Air Bud movies did they make? That dog was dominating every sport for a long, long time. That's right. I just compared Denny Hamlin to Air Bud. That's why you tune into Out of the Groove. Congratulations to Denny. We'll look at the points in just a moment, but we've got some other drivers, some other notable finishers to discuss first. Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell, second and third for the second consecutive week. I think we can say Kyle Larson is pretty much back. Earned 19 stage points today, led 129 laps, a race high, finished second. If this race ends on a long run, no one was catching the 5. Unfortunately for Larson, it was a couple of short runs at the end. He got the short end of the stick. Larson second. Christopher Bell continues his consistent playoff stretch. Another top 5 for C. Bell. Great points days for both of these drivers. And a great points day for Chase Briscoe as well, who entered this race minus 14. Spoiler alert, he's plus 15 now. A 29-point swing, a top 5 finish for Briscoe. Played 2 tires at the end there to get track position. It sounded like Briscoe had gotten into the wall on one of the final runs, didn't really like the handle of his car, so James Small gambled. They were going to finish like 8th or 9th without that call. Gambled, took 2 tires, took that clean air, took track position. It almost worked out. I mean, it did work out. He finished probably a few positions better than he would have otherwise. A great result for Briscoe. Tyler Reddick eliminated last week, but we knew the Toyotas would be fast. Top 5 for Tyler. You'll see, looking at the top 5, it's pretty much all Joe Gibbs Racing and Hendrick Motorsports with a 2311 Toyota mixed in. Essentially the same thing we saw at Kansas Speedway 2 weeks ago. Same kind of mile and a half, same aero package, same Goodyear tire combination, a very similar result. Joey Logano finishes 6th. He just won't go away. A poor pit stop early in stage 3 pinned him back in the 15th, 16th, 17th position, and it looked like, honestly, that's where he was going to finish until a couple of late cautions presented Paul Wolfe the opportunity to gamble. Get this man out of Las Vegas. Or maybe don't, because most of his dice rolls seem to result in wins or at least points victories. Didn't get the race win this time around, but that call to take 2 tires, get track position, resulted in a top 10 that otherwise Joey Logano likely wasn't going to get. So salvaged some points there at the end. The next 2 tracks are right in Joey Logano's wheelhouse, so they did a good job not digging themselves into a deeper hole today. Now it's time to go on the attack the next 2 weeks. A few shout outs here. Alex Bowman in that bright green Camaro gets a solid top 10, was in the mix on all those late restarts. Kyle Busch was way off to start. They rebounded. They score a top 10. This is Kyle Busch's first top 10 in months, I swear. Interim crew chief and all. Well done, Kyle Busch. Well done, RFK Racing. I've singled them out a couple times in recent weeks as a team. 3-car organization, they've been consistently in that top 10 week after week. Probably the best collective non-playoff team in the Cup Series field recently. Yeah, like there's Chris Buescher, 12th. Look at Noah Gragson, 13th in his hometown race. Austin Cindric with a solid result. Stenhouse, Jones, a lot of interesting names sneaking into the top 15 at the end of this one, but you'll notice a few high-profile playoff drivers are missing. Let's begin with Ryan Blaney. Ugh. My championship pick. I knew this race, this track type, was going to be Blaney's weakness, but I hoped he could at least squeak out a top 10 like his teammate Joey Logano managed to. But alas, in stage 1, the left front tire goes, 12 goes hard into the wall, out of the race early. 0 stage points, dead last finish. A brutal beginning to Blaney's round of 8. We have no idea what caused this tire failure. Blaney said after the fact that he felt no indication. There were no warning signs. It just, poof, happened like that. Did he run over debris? Perhaps. Is it also possible that the team was aggressive on their air pressures and misjudged something? I think that's likely too when we consider the fact that 2 weeks ago, again, Kansas Speedway, same track type, aero, tire, everything, they had a tire failure in practice. Granted, it was, I think, the right rear, literally the opposite corner of the car, but just 2 weeks ago, Blaney had a tire failure, wrecked in practice, had to go to a backup. This race, 1 year ago in practice, he also had a tire failure. So this is a pretty consistent Blaney mile-and-a-half Las Vegas type issue. Again, we knew this track type was a weakness for Team Penske. Were they pushing too hard? Did they mess something up? Was it purely bad luck? Did he run over a nail? Your guess is as good as mine, but regardless, Ryan Blaney, my championship favorite, now finds himself in a difficult points position with 2 weeks to go. I'll caution you now, do not sell your Ryan Blaney stock. The next 2 races are Talladega and Martinsville. Ryan Blaney won the most recent drafting track race, Daytona, a few weeks ago. He's won the fall Talladega race before, in fact, just 2 years ago. And Martinsville, Ryan Blaney has literally won back-to-back Martinsville cutoff races 2 years in a row. He owns the fall date. They got to pitch a perfect game from here on out. That part is true, but he's done it twice before, literally the last 2 years. So don't count out Ryan Blaney just yet, even though they're in a pretty big hole here after race 1. And before we look at the points, one more name. It was a killer day for the Killer Bees. William Byron. Fast race car. That 24 team has been okay in these playoffs. You know, they were the regular season champion. A lot of playoff points came with that. They've done enough to move through these first 2 rounds. Solid results. But today was the first time in weeks, maybe since that Iowa win a couple months ago, this was the first time William Byron looked like a championship contender. Qualified 5th. Led 55 laps, won a stage, earned 18 stage points, neck and neck with their teammate Kyle Larson most of the afternoon. A slip late gave up the lead to Larson, but Byron was still solidly in second, looking at a nice top 5, a strong points day when, in the distance, that speck, it's getting close. Whoa! Ty Dillon having a terrible day, pit under green, did not appear to give a signal out the window, checked up right in front of William Byron's racing line. Byron plowed into the back of the 10 car, destroyed. Scary, sudden, shocking impact. Both drivers walked away. They were fine. William Byron's race car, however, his point situation now, not fine. Freak moment, frustrating moment. I went back and listened to Byron's in-car. There was no indication over his radio that the car in front of him was headed to pit road. NBC cut to an angle of Ty Dillon going down the back straightaway, and he never seemed to give a wave out the window, which is standard protocol when you're planning to pit under green. Byron's spotter, Brandon Lyons, came over the radio and said that he didn't know the 10 car was pitting. So whether the spotter missed the 10 spotter's signal, whether Dillon didn't signal himself or Byron missed the signal. Whatever the case may be, there were multiple communication breakdowns between the 10 team and the 24, which led to a scary championship impacting incident. William Byron does not show much emotion. What we saw outside the infield care center tonight is the most emotion we're ever going to get from Willie B. He used the word devastated to describe his mood. He looked shell-shocked, frankly. Part of that, he was just in a high-speed collision. Some of it, he's probably thinking, like we all are, how could there be this breakdown in communication so costly? Again, Byron earned 18 stage points, so he made something of the day, but goodness me, let's look at the points. Things certainly could have been a lot worse, but Byron still finds himself now minus 15. Chase Elliott is 23 points out. We haven't talked about him much today. He had a top 5 car, I think, really fast, but a uncontrolled tire penalty midway through this race stuck them a lap down. Elliott raced hard to get the free pass position, but then they were at a track position disadvantage all afternoon. I believe he finished 18th. He entered -14, leaves -23. Yeah, sounds about right, unfortunately for Chase Elliott. And then the two Team Penske teammates of Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano. Logano entered this race -24. He leaves -24. So what did I say? At least they didn't dig themselves into a deeper hole. Ryan Blaney, however, just brutal. It's the story of their season. So fast at a variety of tracks, but so many DNFs, so many bad points days. Some their fault, some fluky. Today maybe falls somewhere in the middle, not sure. I think this was their 8th DNF of the year. They had 7 in the regular season. It cost them the regular season championship. Without those 7 DNFs, a race, a couple of them even, he probably wins the regular season title. Would have had a few extra playoff points to his credit. 31 points out with Talladega on the horizon and how topsy-turvy that race could be. I'm not ready to say any of these 4 are in must-win territory, but Blaney, Logano, they got to go do what they do at Dega next weekend. They need to lead laps, earn near max stage points, and hopefully be there at the end. Blaney's been able to be there at the end. Logano's had a hard time doing that in recent years. He has like a 30th place average finish, shockingly. High pressure on the high banks at Talladega 1 week from today. But there's a look at the points. There is your Las Vegas breakdown. One incident I haven't talked about was the big restart crash where Bell got into SVG. It looked like Bowman, Ty Gibbs, guys. Keselowski got shuffled out 4 wide. Late restart, everyone going for it. A huge wreck. A near miss for Bell. Bell had a couple near misses today. The Byron incident, he came so close to hitting that one too. I think Chase Elliott got some left rear damage in that big restart melee. Fortunes changed fast at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Let's put this race on the Groovy Gauge. The Groovy Gauge is powered by Electric E-Bikes. Head to electricebikes.com to learn more. At times, today's race actually felt kind of like one of those 550 horsepower, low horsepower, high drag intermediate races from 4 years ago. Like, it was hard to pass the leader in clean air. I think the only pass for the lead we saw today that wasn't on a restart or during a pit cycle, or I guess at the end, Hamlin passed Briscoe, but that was, huge tire difference. The only even pass for the lead under green happened when William Byron just slipped and handed it to Larson. There seemed to be very little off throttle time in the center of the corners, which just made it very difficult for the middle or outside lane to really mount a charge, again, unless you had a dramatic tire advantage like Denny did at the end. Passing for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th in dirty air, we saw plenty of that. It was fun to watch, but passing for the lead was difficult, so that was frustrating to watch at times. I think before that final green flag pit sequence where afterwards we saw Byron and Larson trade the lead. Before then, I was probably going to give this race a 40 to 50 on the Groovy Gauge. It was fine, but just kind of going through the motions. But then Byron and Ty Dillon crash, get a couple crazy restarts. The pit crews made a difference. Denny Hamlin just drove harder, better than everyone those final 15 laps. An exciting finish doesn't make an entire race, but it does make a difference. It's the finish of the race when the most people are tuned in every single week. I'm going to go 65% on the Groovy Gauge. I thought this was an okay race. I will say the fact that the championship contenders for the most part showed up. I think the top 6 qualifiers were all playoff drivers, and then Logano and Blaney weren't far behind. And I believe, yes, the 6 drivers who earned the most stage points today were also playoff drivers. I can respect and appreciate the fact that the contenders came to play. Like, that's what we ask for. That's what we hope the playoffs will demand of these drivers, that they show up, put their best foot forward late in the season in these crucial races. And I think for the most part, the contenders did. So while the on-track racing wasn't super exciting, I would say until stage 3, I respect the fact that many of the top teams put together top-tier performances most of the afternoon. So 65% for me on the Groovy Gauge. Let me know what you thought of today's South Point Casino 400. Leave a comment down below. Today's race certainly delivered on drama, especially at the end. Thanks for tuning into this episode, folks. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like on this video if you did. Subscribe for more NASCAR race reactions, interviews, news, commentary, and so much more every day, every week, all year long. You've come to the right place if you love all things stock about car racing, and I appreciate my Patreon supporters for going the extra mile. My updated Championship 4 predictions are still intact. I had Denny making it, so I'm good there. If you missed my full round of 8 / Championship 4 picks and preview, you can check out my last video from earlier this weekend on my channel. But that's it for now. Have a great rest of your weekend. Have a great start to the new week. I will talk with y'all again very soon. Have a good one, folks.